Hello everyone, welcome back. This is our second video lecture for the web version of Fundamentals of Communication. It's been such a crazy start to the semester because of all the snow and all the ice, although I'm sure some of you have enjoyed the extra time away from classes for your on-campus courses. But we are going to go ahead and pick up where we left off from the last video. I went over all of the course expectations, what is on the class syllabus, and what to expect for the course objectives. I told you guys a little bit about myself, but I want to just take the time to do a proper introduction about me. I didn't exactly do that in the last video. So my name is Amy McCarroll. You guys can call me Professor Amy, Miss McCarroll, totally up to you. As long as it's something nice and I'm indifferent with what you guys call me. I have been teaching for about 3.5 years now, I guess, maybe 4. And I actually never planned to teach. It kind of fell into my lap. And the opportunity just kind of presented itself and I instantly fell in love with it. I realized it was just my life calling and where I was supposed to be in life. I teach communication, fundamentals of communication, public speaking, intrapersonal communication, and then I also teach a digital media and marketing analytics class. That is a master's level class for a college in Pennsylvania, and then I also teach that virtually. I teach at Roane State, and then I also teach at Pellissippi State, Walter State, and then the college in Pennsylvania is called Lancaster Bible College. So I'm a little bit all over the place, which may sound like a lot, but since I'm passionate about teaching and I am passionate about the communication field, then it's actually quite enjoyable. I have a strong background in communication. All of my degrees are in communications. My bachelor's I obtained from the University of Tennessee. I have a major in communication with a minor in information sciences. And for those of you who don't know what information sciences is, it's kind of a lighter version of computer science. So it is very similar. It just doesn't go as in depth as what a computer science degree would. So just kind of a brief introduction to it. And then my master's degree I completed at Southern New Hampshire University. I have my master's in communications with an emphasis in new media and marketing. I actually started my own freelance marketing business. I did that for a little while, but I did it for maybe about 3 years. I wrote content. I focused on branding, content creation, managing social media platforms. I had a variety of different clients in different backgrounds, different industries. I worked with real estate agents, wedding photographers, other types of photographers, just different people with different backgrounds. But it was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot, but I just decided it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. So I don't regret it by any means. It was definitely a period of growth. A lot of people, which I'm hoping this is kind of old news, but I remember when I first started college, everyone was just like, they just taught you stay at a job as long as you can. It looks bad if you job hop on your resume, if you go to different places and all that jazz. And it technically can. It doesn't necessarily look good, but it's just not worth it to stay somewhere for your own mental health, somewhere that just isn't for you, or you know that it's not for you. But whether it's with hobbies or just trying things in general, I highly encourage you to try as many things as possible. If you know something is not for you, then just eliminate it from your life. We can't know if something is truly for us until you actually put yourself out there and try it. But the more things that you try, then the more you're going to know what is intended for you and what is not. So if you haven't found your niche hobbies or the things that you want to do for hobbies, for work, or you haven't discovered your passion yet, then I highly encourage you to just get out there, just let yourself experience things. And if you do that, then I promise it'll come. You'll know when something is meant for you and when it's not. But I am finishing up my doctorate now. I almost have a PhD. Some of my students like to call me almost Dr. Amy, since I'm almost there, not quite. I have completed the coursework phase and I have completed and passed my qualifying exams. I am currently in the dissertation phase, which is the last and final phase of the program. I started the program in 2019, so it's been a little bit of a longer journey. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, but I am in the final stretch and ready to be done with it. I initially started out with my dissertation topic on smartphone addiction, just because people are so ingrained on their phones nowadays. People are so addicted to looking at social media and checking their phones so much. But the goal of writing the dissertation is to contribute something new to society, contribute something new to your field, to academia, research that hasn't necessarily been done yet. And there is actually a lot of existing literature out there already about smartphone addiction. So I decided to kind of change it last minute, and now I'm doing my dissertation on the impact that trauma has on the way we communicate. Everyone, I don't care who you are, we all have some sort of trauma, and it could have been a traumatic childhood, a toxic relationship, or even a toxic work environment. Unfortunately, that is quite common, even though it shouldn't be. Or toxic friendships, or if you were in an accident, maybe you're in a car accident and you were injured, had to go to the hospital, ride in an ambulance. There's all kinds of things. And even though it's not, relationship trauma, it's just the events in life can be traumatic. And whenever something happens, we can't control when the next traumatic thing is going to happen. And unfortunately, sometimes it does change us, and it may not necessarily be for the better. Sometimes it could be for the worse. People get anxiety. Some people get different types of mental health conditions. And a lot of times it can be as a result of trauma, and it takes time to heal and bounce back from something that you've gone through, which is totally, I'm not going to say okay that it happened, but it is part of life, and it is something that we have to adapt to. And some people struggle with the bounce back process or rebuilding their new character based upon the trauma, because they want to be who they were before the trauma. And that's not always the case. Unfortunately, it's not always possible, because it does change you. So I am currently researching how trauma can affect how we show up in relationships. Does it cause anxiety? Does it create a false sense of connection if someone can't show up fully and be fully vulnerable? So those are some of the things we are actually going to talk about in the class. I'm not going to go into as much trauma, but we are going to talk about communication quite a bit in the course. So I've told you guys a little bit about my education, my professional background, and then I also want to tell you a little bit just about my hobbies and interests, and just a little bit about me in general. I have been involved in fitness and nutrition for about, I would say maybe 15, 18 years, something like that, a long time. Fitness and nutrition is a major part of my lifestyle. Unfortunately, since I'm recovering from surgery still, I'm not going to be able to exercise at least for 6 to 8 weeks after my surgery date. So I'm not exactly looking forward to that, because I am used to being active. I am a runner and I lift weights, but I am just knowing and learning that I have to rest right now and let my body heal. So that'll kind of have to be put on the back burner. But when I am not recovering from surgery, then I am an avid runner. I am an ultra marathoner. I've run 6 full marathons and I have run 6 ultras. If you don't know what an ultra marathon is, then it's basically anything longer than 26.2 miles, which is marathon distance. My longest run so far has been 43 miles in one day, which I know that's a little bit, probably sounds a little crazy, but the ultra marathons, you sign up for a 24-hour race and then you run as long as you can for the 24 hours. And even though I'm involved in fitness and I'm passionate about fitness, those things they help callous my mind, and it's just kind of, it mentally tears you down to build yourself back up, which I think is really important, and that can relate to public speaking because we only grow when we're uncomfortable, and we can't grow if we are in our comfort zone. So public speaking is a perfect way to get out of that comfort zone. And then I also like to do anything adventurous. I have been skydiving twice. I've been parasailing. I've been bungee jumping. When I went bungee jumping for the first time, I was 14. So I've always kind of had been an adventure seeker at heart. I believe in living life to the fullest and just taking up as much as you can. So that's a little bit about me. Of course, as we move forward and you watch more videos, you'll learn more about me. But I just wanted to briefly introduce myself since everyone has already kind of done that in the discussion boards. And I also wanted to kind of comment, I feel like maybe sometimes, especially starting out taking this class, some of the discussion boards may seem a little overwhelming initially because there are so many, but it's you kind of just have to think, if we were not meeting digitally, then these are in-class discussions that we would be having, and we would normally be in the classroom 3 hours a week. So when you look at it in that context, just through that lens, it doesn't really seem like it's that much. So hopefully, if it does seem overwhelming, you can kind of shift your mindset to think of it in that context, because I either have a 3-hour on-campus class, or I have a class that meets 2 days a week. So we might meet Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday, for approximately an hour and a half. So when you think of it like that, it doesn't really seem as much. So if it does seem overwhelming, hopefully thinking about it in that context will help a little bit. But I want to go ahead and dive into the content of what will be our first lecture. The focus for this topic is going to be intrapersonal communication, which is INTRA. And then we will later talk about inter, so instead of AER, interpersonal communication. Both of those things are incredibly important when it comes to public speaking and when it comes to any type of communication. But I always like to start off my classes with the intrapersonal communication, just because it is so incredibly important. For those of you who do not know what intrapersonal communication is, that is communication with yourself. And you may be thinking, communication with myself, what does that mean? Do I want to talk to myself? I don't want to talk to myself. If I'm out in a grocery store, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy. It's really not like that, though. Intrapersonal communication, yes, is communication with yourself, but it's more of an internal dialect. There are various ways of doing that, but part of that is because we always have thoughts. We always are making decisions, contemplating what we're going to do next. Do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to go for a run? What am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to wear today? All of those things are considered intrapersonal communication? Do I want to hang out with this person? Is this person that I've been seeing for a while, dating, are they a good fit for me? We always have all of these tabs open in our brain that are constantly going, and we're sorting them out. We're sorting out the details. And the results of that, in the process of that, is a form of intrapersonal communication. And we do that all the time, but people don't always place as much intention or emphasis with being intentional about the direction of the intrapersonal communication. And one of the things that I strongly encourage is journaling. Whenever you journal, you kind of sort out all the knots in your head. If you have had stress going on and then you write it all down, it's just like you're taking all these knots that are going on in your head and then putting them on paper, and it's a form of mental release. Even though the thoughts may still be present in your mind, putting them out on paper and actually be able to see them in front of you is incredibly helpful. And we are all wired extremely different. We all come from different backgrounds, different walks of life. So what may work for one person may not necessarily work for another. But that is one of the things that I personally love to do. Also, running. If I've had a bad day, I want to go for a run. Sometimes people are like, no, I just want to lay out on the couch and watch my favorite TV show. I'm personally not really that much of a TV person. If I've had a bad day or I'm overwhelmed with something in life, then I need to go for a long run. And running also helps me sort out those knots. But you kind of have to figure out what's best for you, because again, we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. What is a good fit for you may not be a good fit for someone else. So you just have to figure out what is a healthy way of you talking to yourself and having those conversations. And the thing is we live in a society that is just go, 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 go all the time. And whenever we are always on, we're always checking our phones, Facebook, Instagram, text messages, emails. We get work emails, school emails. We get it all to our phone. And everyone is constantly checking it to see what's going on. And with the progression of technology, it is incredibly difficult to even take time to just turn that off. That being said, we are always interacting. Going to the mall, we see what other people wear. Look on Instagram, we see different fashion trends, or Pinterest. It is so incredibly easy to fall into the trap of what other people are doing. If you think about what the current trends are in society, like for example, Coach bags, Michael Kors bags, Louis Vuitton handbags, leggings, different Brooks running shoes, the Tesla with the electric vehicles, crop tops are making a comeback, and even certain nail designs in the fall. People like to wear plaid. And then I'm sure most of you probably know someone, at least one or two people, that have one of the doodle dogs. And they are super cute. They're adorable. But for some reason, this dog started trending. This dog is like a celebrity now. I know quite a few people that have this dog, and I see it all the time. And nothing against this dog. I love animals. I love dogs. I have a dog myself. But it just makes you think, what made this particular dog start trending? And it's one of those things, whenever you're exposed to certain fashion trends or just things that's going on, you may not like it initially. I remember whenever I was in my undergrad years and I was going to UT, that's been quite a while ago, but all of the girls on campus, like probably 90% of them, they would wear these oversized t-shirts that would come down to their knees, and there were these Nike running tempo shorts. I actually had some of the running shorts, but I did not want to wear the oversized t-shirt. But like 90% of girls on campus wore this every single day. And then they would also wear dressy sandals, not like chacos or tennis shoes, but they would wear sandals with rhinestones on them. Just all kinds of things that doesn't really fit. And it wasn't just a few people, which I certainly don't judge anybody for any kind of fashion trend or anything like that. I am all for people being who they are and being their authentic self. And even if I don't like something, I will 1,000% support everyone else for doing what they want to do. But the thing is this was just such, I couldn't wrap my head around it because it was such an odd combination that people would start doing it. And just dressy sandals don't go with a sporty look. And so many girls had it. And then I remember leggings aren't really in style the way they were at one point, but I still occasionally see people wear them. But at one time, you could not go anywhere without seeing a girl with black leggings and the tall brown riding boots. And it was just everywhere. You could go to TJ Maxx, you could go to the mall, you could go out and have lunch or dinner. There were girls everywhere in the fall and winter that had this. And when it first started trending, I really wasn't that much of a fan myself, because I guess society kind of teaches you that brown and black don't really go together. Black needs to go with black or gray, and then brown just needs to go with brown. But so many people have started doing this trend. And when you're constantly exposed to it, even before social media, it was easy to fall into a trend, just going to the mall, going to the grocery store, all that jazz. But now we're even more susceptible to adapting to those trends, because we see it when we go out, and then we also see it on our phones and our computers, and it's impossible to turn it off unless you create time to intentionally turn it off. And if you don't turn it off, it is easy to see something so many times, and then it sticks in your head, and you're like, well, maybe I'll try that. And then it sticks, and then it becomes part of you. And by all means, there's certainly things that are trending that I love, but and I encourage you, if there are things that are trending, go for it by all means. But the important thing is that we don't want to just go after something or be part of something or be part of that trend because it is trending. And the more that you're with other people, it's almost as if you lose a sense of self, you lose a sense of identity. And that being said, I think one of the best analogies that I can present in this context is I believe that energy is contagious. If you are in a group of negative people and they're just having a bad day and they're talking about it, versus if everybody's in an exciting mood, they're happy, that energy kind of soaks up in you, kind of like a sponge. In a similar way, that's how the trends are. And if you don't intentionally take time to focus on you and yourself away from the world, shut off all devices, shut off the TV, just spend time alone in your own element, then you're going to lose a true sense of identity. You're going to lose a true sense of self. So having that authenticity and having that true sense of self is so incredibly important in literally every aspect of your life. I am going to post a video along with this video as well. I'm actually going to post 2 other videos, but one of them is by Warren Buffett, which is, of course, hopefully you guys know who he is. He is an incredibly successful person. And he talks about in the video about how the unique people stand out. If you are a follower or you try to fit the mold of what society has created and what they quote unquote want us to be, then you're just trying to do what everybody else is doing. That's not going to stand out. That's not going to get someone's attention. You want to be authentically you. There are billions and billions of people in the world. It is impossible for two people to be the exact same or have the exact same personality. Sure, we can have similarities, but you cannot be exactly like somebody else. And I believe that is part of the problem, is that society has created these quote unquote standardizations of what society is supposed to be. But if you work on your intrapersonal communication with yourself, tuning out the rest of the world, think about asking yourself, what makes you happy? What do you really like? Are you hanging out with these people that are really helping you grow, or are you hanging out with them out of habit? So the more that you can set time away from the world, even if you have a busy schedule and you just need to put your phone on silent while you drive, turn off the music, and just reflect while you're driving or going for a walk down the road, whatever it is, it's just so incredibly important to be intentional with that communication with yourself so that you can be happy for you and not fall into what you are with other people. And the more that you do that, then the more that you are going to be in all the right places in your life, meaning you don't want to be in the wrong career. You don't want to be in the wrong circle of friends, the wrong romantic relationship. Too often, people get wrapped up in what they think everybody else is doing or what somebody else wants for them. I've heard of so many people, just example, maybe there's a man who's a lawyer, and then he has a son, and he has this big dream for his son to take over his law practice, and then the son ends up being a lawyer like his dad and taking over his steps. But it was programmed with the son at a young age, hey, I need to be a lawyer like my dad. And then he wakes up one day and he's 50 and he hates his life because he never wanted to be a lawyer. He really wanted to do something else, and now he's miserable. So it is just so incredibly important to work on the intrapersonal communication. The more that you work on that, the more that you're going to be in tune with your own authentic self, and the more that you are going to be able to recognize what is meant for you and what is not meant for you whenever you are in those situations. So it can be scary to put yourself out there and go against the grain and do things that other people aren't, because it's uncommon. But I promise, if you can get to a point where you are comfortable showing up 100% as yourself, I promise it will pay off immensely. It's going to show up because how many of you have ever been in a situation where you had something on your mind and you wanted to talk to somebody, but you kept putting it off, and then weeks have gone by and you have only created this extra anxiety for yourself because you can't even talk about it with this person. But now you just can't bring yourself to do it because you're nervous. Whereas if you had just talked about it 2 weeks ago when you had thought about it, then you wouldn't have created all this extra pressure for yourself. A lot of that comes with confidence. You're afraid of what the other person's going to think. You're going to think that they may not be able to see eye to eye with you. And confidence is huge when it comes to the intrapersonal communication. The more you work on yourself, the more you build your confidence, and that's going to show up with your speeches, all of your relationships in the business world, whenever you are not afraid to ask for what you want and stand up for yourself and speak from a bold, assertive place, then it's really going to pay off. There is a book, it's called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. This is not required for the course by any means, but if you just want to further expand your knowledge, the tipping point is, quote unquote, the tipping point in society what makes something be a tipping point. What is the psychological factor that lets something become a trend versus not becoming a trend? For example, Converse shoes, they were popular, I don't know, like 70s, 80s or something, but they've made a comeback. People have them now. I remember, like I said, there are some things I like that are trending, but not, necessarily everything. I remember all through my middle school and high school years, I used to wear the clog Birkenstocks, and they were super in style, super popular. But every few years I've gotten a new pair because those shoes are so incredibly comfortable and they go with so many things. I've never retired my Birkenstock clogs. But now I've noticed like people are wearing them again. I'm like, oh, I see the clogs. Like I haven't seen somebody else wear them in years. But it's just one of those things, like what makes something become a trend and what's something that doesn't. So I would just, like I said, you don't have to read that book, but it is a really good book if you want to dive a little bit deeper into understanding that. For my in-class, on-campus classes, I like to show my class a picture of a pencil. So this, I'm going to have to, since we're not in the classroom, I do have to adapt a little bit, but I want you to think about just a number 2 pencil. Take a moment to think about what you have in common with that pencil. And you can pause this if you want to kind of reflect on it. You could take some notes. But a number 2 pencil. Some of you, depending on your age, may or may not know what the handheld pencil sharpeners are. I teach at multiple campuses, and some of my campuses, classrooms have the old school pencil sharpeners and some don't. But I remember growing up, whenever I was in middle school, I remember standing in line, sharpening my pencil. You'd have to wait for 10 people in front of you to go. That was before electric pencil sharpeners existed, and nobody had like the mechanical lead pencils either. And if you know what those are, I remember sometimes after waiting in line for 10 minutes or whatever, you would get back to your desk, you would start to write, and then the lead would fall out. And you're like, oh no, I have to get back up, go stand in line again and sharpen my pencil. And sometimes you'd have to do that repeatedly because the lead kept falling out. Well, if you also notice, whenever you sharpen a pencil, it always looks different. It never looks the same. It may be a little bit of a different angle, like the lead could be a little bit different shape, or the wood around it could just be just a little bit different. And whenever that happens, you have to think, you could sharpen 10 pencils and they're all going to look just a little bit different. It's not going to be the same. Or when you erase it, the eraser doesn't always look the same for the aftermath, right? So we as humans are so much like a pencil. You have to keep sharpening a pencil. You could write and write and write, and then you got to go sharpen again. It doesn't last forever. When it comes to your communication skills, your public speaking skills, all of the above, it's all about self-improvement. It's all about self-development. And if you are not constantly working at yourself and sharpening the pencil, aka you, then you're going to lose those skills. It is a lifelong journey of commitment. My goal for this class, public speaking and communication, is truly such a valuable life skill. It is so incredibly beneficial, and it can pay off so much in every aspect of your life. It can help you show up better at work, family, communication, your romantic partners, your friendships, everywhere. It is just so important to take the time to work on yourself, because you have to think of it as a lifelong journey. So whenever you stop sharpening the pencil, you can easily lose those skills. So you just want to make sure that you practice doing that. So I want you guys to kind of just spend the rest of the week reflecting on what you do for intrapersonal communication. How do you differentiate yourself from those things? I will also post a discussion board in correlation with this video that you can follow up with. And then I also want you to kind of think about this as you are setting those 15 goals for yourself, for one goal each week for the semester as we move forward. So think about, do you need to work on communication with yourself? Do you need to work on building your own authenticity, your own identity? Because whenever you give your speeches, if you're trying to do what you think, or even in relationships or at work or in any communication capacity, if you're trying to do and fit the mold of what you think society wants you to be, it can show. But if you are comfortable with your own identity, with who you are, and you're confident with who you are, then it will also show up and it will come across as more natural. If you're not confident, then it can come across as robotic. And please don't feel pressured to do this overnight. It takes years of commitment to invest in yourself, self-development, growth. It is not something that comes across overnight. It is not something that happens instantly. You can't just decide to do it. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of intentional effort. So keep that in mind with everything, because we kind of have to take baby steps when it comes to being a great communicator and a great public speaker. But I will go ahead and you will see the discussion board about the intrapersonal communication. Just kind of look out for that. And then you'll also see some activities that I will post as well. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time.